Welcome to the Ask Jordan podcast, answering your questions about selling on Amazon. Now, the award-winning Amazon merchant and best-selling author from Long Island, New York, here's your host, Jordan Malik.
Hey listeners, Jordan Malik here. I'm the host of the Ask Jordan podcast. Thank you so much for listening. This is our 42nd episode. I've been receiving your emails and your compliments. Thanks so much. Well over 40,000 downloads to date. And if you like this podcast and you've got it from iTunes, please go to the iTunes page. Log into iTunes and then do a search in the podcast section for Ask Jordan. And it'll let you leave a review somewhere on the left-hand side. I'd appreciate it if you could. I know you like to keep this podcast a secret, but I'd like to get some positive reviews on there. If you're listening for the first time, welcome. This is the podcast where we only answer questions about selling on Amazon. Every episode, we answer a different question from you, the listener, about selling on Amazon. Doesn't matter if you're an intermediate Amazon seller, never sold on Amazon before, beginning seller, advanced seller. And if you miss an episode, just go to askjordan.net, askjordan.net. You can see our previous episodes, and there's also a link to our archived episodes, or just look up our show on iTunes, and you'll see all the episodes right there. If you want to hear your voice on an episode and get 7 of my best-selling ebooks 100% free, I'm going to tell you how you can do that right after we answer today's question. And today's question is from Richard Roberts. Go ahead, Richard.
Hi, Jordan. My name is Richard Roberts. I'm a new FBA seller. For the past 2 years, I've been accumulating books and some records. And so I have an inventory ready to go, about 2,000 plus items. There's many problems inherent in that right there, but that's not exactly why I'm calling. With this Herculean task of listing all these, I'd be interested in hearing any tips you might have, any hints, shortcuts to speed up the listing process. Maybe an overall approach to listing that would be advantageous. I think it's to be of interest to any seller of anything. So I would hope to hear something about that if you choose to. And I do appreciate all of your information on the internet. Keep up the good work. And bye now.
Richard, that's a great question. I'm going to tell you what I would do if I had. I'm not privy to what your 2,000 quantity item of records and books looks like. But so I have to make some conclusions here. Some assumptions. Let's start with the records. Okay, Amazon is not a great platform to sell records, and I'll tell you why. People who buy old vinyl from whatever, 1970s back or 1980s back, they're very particular about the condition. And by very particular, I'm talking about, in my experience, the people that are going to be paying more than $10 for an LP. They're probably a collector or an audiophile of some sort, and they're very particular about the condition. The sleeve condition, is it 100% complete with the sleeve and the cover? Is the cover discolored? Does the cover have stains? Does the record have any scratches? And what may look perfectly acceptable to you and me, an audiophile or somebody who's going to pay more than $10 for a record, is going to probably find about 10 or 12 things with the condition that you and I probably wouldn't even see. And the only records that would be worth you selling on Amazon, and there's some records on Amazon, but not many. I don't think it's the proper venue for you. eBay is the proper venue. The records that are that are worth less than $10 aren't going to be worth your time to list, whether it's on Amazon or eBay. So you've got a little dilemma in there, in that if I was in your shoes, I'd be trying to find a record collector locally, bringing all my records to him or her, and saying, how much would you give me for the lot? And there's a 90% chance that of what you have, there's nothing in there that's worth anything. And I'm not saying that to insult your intelligence. I'm just saying that you may have some hidden gems in there, I don't know, but those are truly a needle in a haystack. So I would either find somebody locally that deals in records, look in your wanted ads in the paper, or find like a Yellow Pages listing for a record shop if there is one. You could sell the entire lot locally on Craigslist. Say serious inquiries only, and set a price in your Craigslist ad, and take some pictures of the stacks of records you have. my gut feel is that they're probably not worth much, and I personally wouldn't even be bothered selling them. A friend of mine had some old Elvis records, and they really were not worth anything. I went through all of them. The other drawback that you have in selling records is shipping them. Because they are an unwieldy size, vinyl records, for you to ensure that they don't get broken in transit, like snapped in half, packaging records in a sturdy fashion is going to be costly for you. It's going to be cost prohibitive for you. And that's why I steer away from records personally. So that's your answer on your records. Personally, I would be trying to get rid of the entire lot somehow. And if I couldn't get rid of it, I'd be actually throwing it out. That's going to sound like a sin to some people. But I think your time in trying to pick through and then take pictures and then ship the records, because you would be ideally selling them on eBay, is going to be very cost prohibitive to you because of the time you're going to invest in it. Amazon does have some listings for records, but I don't know, in all likelihood, if your particular records are in their catalog already. If your particular records or any of your records are already not listed on Amazon, you have to take the time to list them. That's a cumbersome process. And again, there's that whole element of shipping them to the Amazon warehouses and then hoping that the Amazon personnel are handling the records correctly. Or you can sell them on Amazon on your own, and ship them on your own. But again, the process and the cost of shipping them to ensure they don't break is going to be cost prohibitive to you. If you were making a career out of this, of collecting old vinyl and selling it, you might be able to eke out a nice little part-time revenue stream. That's a different story, but I don't think that's your case. I think you have these on hand and you need to get rid of them. So that's my opinion for you for the records. If you're dying to know what they're worth, you would probably have to take a stack of them, bring them into your living room, wherever your computer is, and then Google on your computer how to search completed listings on eBay. That should bring you to a page, or let you select a page. It shows you how to search for the completed listing of a product. And you'd go to eBay and you type in the title one at a time and view the completed listings, the sold listings. You can sort your results after you do a search on eBay to view just the sold listings by clicking on a box on the left-hand side, the left menu. And you'd be able to see what those records have sold for on eBay in the past. And the chances are that the higher valued records are the ones that are in really pristine condition. And the records that you that are in so-so condition, or just very good condition or poor condition, are probably not worth anything. If you got the first pressing of the first Beatles albums, yeah, I can imagine, or even later artists, I can imagine that there's some hidden needles in a haystack gems in there. That's why I say I'd rather see you bring the whole stack to a collector, and have them figure it out for you. Have them see if they'd want to buy anything from you. Otherwise, I would junk it. I would seriously throw it out. Okay, so let's get to the books, Richard. I'm just going to pretend for now you got 1,500 books. In general, the ones that are going to be not worth your time selling on Amazon are going to be romance novels, fiction novels, mystery novels, more or less autobiographies or biographies. I'm probably missing a few. So that's going to help you narrow it down. Again, with the books, you've probably got a decent selection of stuff that it's valuable, but probably 70 to 90% of the books that you have are probably not worth more than a couple dollars. And that's where you're gonna be throwing many out. I'm going to get into how to narrow it down even further, but the things that you want to be looking for, anything like an obscure title that just sounds weird, Japanese cooking history during World War II, or the proliferation of Hasidic Jews in Rwanda, or whatever. Any title that sounds weird or looks like it might have been some unpopular book that was not released in massive numbers may be worth something. Unusual cookbooks. college textbooks, recent college textbooks, those are worth something. What else? Coffee table photography books. Coffee table centerpiece books that people set on their coffee table, pictures of the Andes Mountains or whatever. Those are the ones that are probably going to be worth something. So if you're just visually looking at all your books, that's the stuff that you want to weed out. But by and large, your older books, it's going to be a needle in a haystack. It's going to be better odds than your records. But you're probably going to be, probably was too generous saying, 70% are going to be not worth anything. It's probably going to be more like 80 to 90%. But you may have some books in there that will yield you $25 profit, $50 profit, $100 profit or more. So in that case, if you want to first, with the directions that I gave you is set aside the ones that fit in those categories that I mentioned, and throw out the categories, like I said, the mystery, romance, autobiography, biography, those titles, set those aside like you're going to throw them out, and then take a look at the rest. When you take a look at the rest, you should be getting what's called a seller app. And I discussed that in the previous episode, episode 40. Get a seller app for an iPhone or an Android phone, or borrow somebody's Android phone or iPhone, and download the app, or have somebody help you download the app, and then start scanning the barcodes for each one of those books to see what the item is selling for on Amazon. If you don't have an iPhone or an Android phone, or you don't know anybody with one that can help you, this is where you've got to take a stack of books with you one at a time, sit next to your computer, and type in the ISBN number, which virtually every book I think published after 1970 something has, or type in the barcode number if there's a barcode on the back. ISBN number, I forget how far back that goes, but it's probably before 1970. After 1970 something, books started having barcodes, so you can type in the barcode number, go into Amazon.com and do a search for that barcode number to see what the book is worth. Make sure you're looking at the used books. When you see the result, you type the barcode number on Amazon, you see the book, make sure you're looking at the used prices. You're probably going to want to also look at the bestseller rank. You can also find this information when you use the app itself. Find the bestseller rank. You probably only want to entertain selling books that have a bestseller rank of between 1 and 1.5 million in general. If the book that you're trying to evaluate has no barcode on it, open up the first few pages, find the ISBN number. I forget what that stands for, ISBN number, and type that number in the Amazon.com search field instead to see what the used value is. And you should be looking at the lowest prices for used, and I would only bother with books that are worth $10 or more. And Robert, I know it sounds like a lengthy process, but that's what you've got ahead of you. It's hard for me to say, again, not knowing what content, what type of books and records you have. If you want to get started selling on Amazon, you might want to forego that. I don't know if you paid for these lots of books, and if you don't want to spend the time, you can throw everything out. That would be considered a cardinal sin by some sellers. But if I was in your room where you had these 2,000 pieces and I saw a lot of old musty books, I'm not a big bookophile or book aficionado. I might look at all this and say, I'm just going to throw this stuff out. It's going to be very hard for you to find a buyer to buy all that in bulk, unless maybe a record collector, or maybe there's somebody in your neighborhood that sells on Amazon already and you can sell them the entire lot. But usually when people do sell an entire lot like that, it's because they've already been through it. There is no cream at the top of it. So those procedures I just gave you, if you want to go back and listen to this podcast again, to do that is going to be very time investing. You're going to invest a lot of time in it. You could hire some kid for $10 an hour to do it for you, some kid that's savvy with an iPhone, to sit through your entire book collection for 7 days straight and go through every one, and just have him write down which ones have a total lowest value of $9.99 or more. Okay. Robert, if you're just starting out, selling, which I think you are, you may have time to be able to, this is your first big lot of stuff that you're going through. You're going to find there's so much low-hanging fruit and opportunity out there that your best opportunities, if you're working alone or if it's just you and you don't have a team of people, your best opportunities are going to be able to go when you can cherry pick things. So you may spend, if you're determined to sell the contents or part of the contents that are within this lot, you may be spending, just say, 50 person hours. And your net profit may be, I'm just guessing, let's say $2,000. One of the things I kept hearing about that I didn't understand until it actually happened to me is when everybody says your most valuable asset is time, or your most valuable time. The time is worth more than the money, kind of phrase. I forget exactly what it was, and I didn't know what that meant. And it's true. It's you have to allocate your time because we've only got 24 hours in a day. You have to learn about, begin to learn how to allocate your time accordingly, because when I look at a big, say if I have an opportunity to buy 1,000 books, let me give you another example. Somebody contacted me from Craigslist and said, I have all these action figures. They were used and they were in a big bucket. And he had all these action figures, and they were all, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I would have probably jumped at it. He wanted to sell the entire lot to me. But I don't have the time anymore to go through every action figure, make sure all the accessories are there, listed accordingly, take a picture of each one to sell it on eBay, or alternately sell it on Amazon and ensure I've described it. And then I can't sell it on Amazon because if it's missing accessories, even though it's used, if it has accessories missing, it's considered incomplete and I can't sell it. So I pass on that opportunity, like I pass on other opportunities today, because I know that the time involved, may take me 50 hours and yield me $2,000 in profit. I can find other products, and you'll learn this. You'll see this if you visit my blog at honestonlineselling.com. There's opportunities for me to make money that same amount of $2,000 by spending a lot less time. And that means grabbing my scanner and going into a retail store or a handful of retail stores, or going to a library book sale, or going to an estate sale, or going online to find products to resell. The opportunity for me to make the same amount of money in a fraction amount of time. So that's my word of advice to you, is that be careful when you're just starting out. I can understand maybe you got your hand on this lot of 2,000 items and you want to be able to extract some value out of it. And what I fear is that you've got a lot in that lot that's going to be a waste of your time. And it may be. There's a pretty good chance that 80 to 90 or 95% of what you've got in there, or even 100%, isn't worth reselling because there's not enough profit in it based on the amount of time you have invested. So just try to get a kid in there that from a local college, or send a wanted Craigslist ad, somebody with an iPhone, have them download the app, Profit Bandit, have them scan every item, or have them look up the items on your computer if you don't want to do it yourself, and weed out the stuff that's valuable and list that and throw out the rest. So I hope I didn't discourage you, because there's a lot more opportunity for you out there. And Robert gets all 7 of my ebooks about selling on Amazon, eBay. Robert, just go to AskJordan.net, click on the small envelope icon in the upper right-hand corner. Send me an email so I know where to send your ebooks to. If you, the listener, want to submit a question to the podcast and have a chance to win all my best-selling ebooks, just like Robert, call 516-619-ONLINE. That's 516-619-6654. That's just a voicemail box where you can leave a message. Or go to AskJordan.net, scroll down, there's some directions on how to submit your question for the podcast. Hey, thanks for listening. This has been the Ask Jordan Podcast. We'll see you again in our next episode.